Welcome back to Fantasy Facts Machine. We are just finishing up week 3, and we're going to talk about some players that we're thinking about dropping, we're thinking about keeping, we're thinking about adding, kind of going through the list of guys that are on the borderline of getting on your roster. I'm here with George, Truth Factory Fuchs. I'm Kev Lou. George, you want to kick it off and let me know who you're thinking about?
I guess I'll start with probably going to be a pretty common pickup after this week, but I'm going to go with Kalif Raymond of Detroit. Quentin Cephas got a lot of love last week, but Raymond got 10 targets. He was supposed to be their number 2 coming into the year. Had some injury issues, but finished the game with 6 catches, 68 yards. And my biggest thing is I think Detroit will stay competitive. They don't have all that many guys that are going to get targets. Jared Goff's going to throw the ball a lot. It's not really going to result in too many victories, but Raymond should be productive, and especially if you're looking in PPR leagues, I think he's somebody to monitor.
Yeah, I like that. I think he's the first guy in the Detroit offense that's not a tight end or a running back that's been able to kind of crack the code of getting Jared Goff to throw him the ball a little bit.
A little bit.
That's not just on a check down, you know.
Yep.
It was a little bit odd that their leading receivers were running backs and a tight end, but
yeah, I mean, we expected big things out of Hawkinson, but at the same time, yesterday he
Right.
had 2 catches for 10 yards. So,
Right.
you know, you need more than 1 target, more than 2 targets, and, you know, Swift is going to get his. Jamal Williams will obviously play a little bit, but Raymond is available on pretty much every waiver wire right now, so if you get a chance to take him, why not?
yeah, no, that's a good one. I think that's an excellent point that he's available in a lot of the leagues, which, you know, sometimes you look at these lists of players to pick up and it's like available in 51% of the leagues, but really
it's going to be way higher than that for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I like it. I'm going to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back situation. As far as, you know, a lot of people had high hopes for Ronald Jones going into the season. You know, he had some improvement last year, and then Fournette, of course, supposed to get the goal line carries. But then you look at the game yesterday, and the 2 rushing touchdowns were by Brady and Godwin.
And Godwin got the rusher.
And then Giovanni Bernard, who didn't have 1 single carry, was by far the best running back on the team in the game. So when I look at their team, I don't really want Fournette or Jones on my roster, but now I'm starting to think about Bernard, who was barely on my radar going into the season.
It's interesting because Bernard was going to be their 3rd down back, but started out very slow this year, did not have very many snaps. He's a great pass-catching back, but again, the issue is that it's such a crowded backfield. I don't think they're just going to give up on Fournette all of a sudden. Ronald Jones, I mean, he's had a lot of fumble troubles. He's not really doing very well, but again, I think they're somewhat invested in him. So picking up Gio is interesting, but I'm not sure how, you know, changing it's going to be for your team.
Yeah.
It might be a very, very deep stash, if anything.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I don't think they're going to give up on Fournette, but it's just hard for me to see putting him into my lineup at this point.
No, and the problem is if you're trying to make trades, you know, his value's not great right now. His value probably peaked. Well, let's hope it didn't peak week 1, but it's definitely declined the last couple of weeks. So.
Yeah. And I mean, take that with a grain of salt because they were playing from way behind, which I don't think they're going to find themselves in that position too often this season.
No, the Rams at home, you know, in a shootout, that's going to be a tough game. And again, I think a lot of the reasons why Gio got as many snaps last night was because of the game situation.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Who else are you looking at?
So I'm kind of curious if yesterday was the game that started the Zach Moss trend. You know, we talked a lot about it in our previews going in. Is it going to be Moss? Is it going to be Singletary? Initially, it looked like Singletary was going to be the back.
Yeah.
Yesterday, they definitely split carries, but Moss stood out. You know, Moss had more touches just in general. He had 3 targets, caught all of them, had another touchdown. I don't know if there's some sort of like chemistry that's developing in Buffalo, but if he starts taking away more of Singletary's carries, he could be incredibly valuable because that offense is going to bulldoze some people.
Right. Yeah. They're gonna get a lot of red zone opportunities. What a weird situation though. With last week, Singletary has that great run to start the game, and you're kind of thinking like, okay, this is what they've been waiting for. They finally found their guy, and the opposite has happened since then. So there has to be something there, you know. And it's the problem with these running back by committees.
It is, but it's
guessing.
But at the same time, I feel like there might be more of a breakout potential there than in something like the Tony Pollard Zeke thing because. Singletary isn't getting paid $100 million, right? Like, They're not quite as invested in him by any means. And if they find a guy that they're really confident with, I think they'll go. Like, obviously, we love Tony Pollard here at Fantasy Facts Machine.
Yeah.
We want him to get as many carries as possible, but he's going to be limited unless, you know, Zeke's not playing for some reason.
Right.
I'm not sure that's exactly the case here. So I think if you have a chance to acquire Moss right now would be a pretty decent time to do it.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. I'm gonna take a look at Jaylen Waddle on the Dolphins, who had a
funny stat line.
Perplexing game yesterday. He was targeted 13 times by his brand new quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. He had 12 receptions, 58 yards, I believe, and he was hit for a safety on one of his 1-yard receptions. And so if you're in a full PPR league, which I believe George is.
Oh, I had him started yesterday. I was ecstatic.
Yeah, he's a great guy to have on your team. If you're on a half PPR, he's still good. If you're on the Dolphins, he's maybe not that great so far. But is he like a definite, stash for you right now?
I mean, I like him just because
in a half PPR. Let's just say it's not full.
In a half PPR is obviously more of a question, but I do like him because, as we mentioned in the column last week, he's versatile in the fact that he can line up in the slot, he can line up outside, and they want to keep using him.
Yeah.
Will Fuller got injured again yesterday. I don't know how long he's out for. Devontae Parker seems like gets targeted 4 times a game max at this point.
Right.
So it's Waddle and it's Gesicki.
Yeah.
And
well, here's the funny thing is yesterday, I don't know if you know this, but Mike Gesicki had 86 yards receiving, which is the season high on the team. So no one has had
not a 100-yard receiver yet.
No 90-yard receiver yet.
Yep.
And Gesicki in the first game had 0 yards, and then he had 41 yards in the second game. So for me, and I'm not in a full PPR with Waddle, it's hard to even look at anybody on the Dolphins and think that I have hope. I mean, Waddle has the most potential, but look at his quarterback situation.
Yeah, well, Brissett's going to be starting for at least the next 3 weeks, right? Tua's out with the rib injury. We hope that Tua does come back and he comes back okay, because that offense will be more explosive, but the offense is going to be limited.
Yeah.
That being said, they're going to be at home. Brissett is not terrible by any means. It's just going to be a slower paced offense, and Waddle is capable of breaking some of these little slot throws.
I hate to take it there, but how many more receptions can you give a guy than 12? To get 58 yards.
God knows.
Like,
Yeah,
I didn't see the game, but what type of routes are you sending the guy to get 12 receptions and 58 yards and a safety?
He was getting the ball out very quickly. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's important to look at the running backs at that point, too. Myles Gaskin, I'm pretty sure, had a decent amount of catches yesterday, too. The offense is going to be a lot of short throws, try to win the game with defense, maybe running the ball a little bit. Malcolm Brown had a nice run yesterday. But yeah,
he did have a nice run.
Yeah.
I was hoping to see some more carries for him, but I think he had 6 carries or 7 carries. And
not particularly interested in knowing too much of the Miami backfield. And as you said, not too much of the Miami offense just in general.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a full PPR. 12 big catches.
Yeah, full PPR, Waddle is definitely a solid player on your team. Anybody else you got in mind?
I guess I don't want to go too negative. We try to spread, good vibes and everything. Yeah. But I'm not sold on picking up, stars from a decade ago. Like AJ Green had a massive game yesterday. Deshaun Jackson.
Game.
It was a big game. Deshaun Jackson looked like the best wide receiver on the field. Outside of Cooper Kupp, who's the best wide receiver in fantasy football. I would not even touch either of those guys. I don't trust Jackson at all for just a plethora of reasons. And Green is the 4th wide receiver on his team. Rondell Moore had a very slow game, unfortunately. But I don't want him over Moore. I don't want him over Kirk. And obviously we don't want him over Hopkins. Deshaun Jackson he's a flash in the pan. I mean, the guy he's a burner. He's probably going to get 1 long shot a game, assuming he can stay healthy. But you really want that in a starting lineup? I don't. So I'm going to stay away from them on most waiver wires.
Yeah. The one interesting thing I'll say about Deshaun Jackson is, so in the first 2 games, I don't know if you knew this, but he got 10 total snaps in 2 games. Gets pissed off, complains to the coach. Guy gets 120 yards.
On 3 catches, though,
and a touchdown on 3 catches. But I don't know if you watched the game, but there was also another play where he was wide open and Stafford underthrew him by about 6 yards. Okay, maybe exaggeration. Underthrew him by about 4 yards. And I think it was before he had any catches, and Deshaun Jackson threw his arms up at Stafford like, I was wide the fuck open. Why didn't you throw me the ball or, throw it farther?
Wait, you're telling me Deshaun Jackson was emotional on the sideline?
Yeah.
Shocked.
But I thought it was interesting because, on top of the 120 yards, and I'm not disputing what you're saying because Deshaun Jackson, I mean, the last time he played a full season was, I don't know.
1994?
Yeah, somewhere around there. But, he was wide open for a good part of this game, which obviously is because he has Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods running routes.
That helps. Also, the BUCS secondary is bad.
Yeah.
Like, very bad. So that helped, too.
They do have the Seahawks twice this season as well.
Yeah. You're not going to talk me into Deshaun Jackson. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But he did have a very good game, and I would agree. I mean, I've probably picked Deshaun Jackson up, 2 of the last 4 seasons and stashed him on my bench because he was injured, and he just seemed to never come back from the injury. Every weekend he was, questionable and didn't end up playing. But he does have some games like this. It's kind of similar to Will Fuller,
Yeah, he might have been the original Will Fuller. I mean, Fuller is a bigger guy, but he gets hurt all the time. But yeah, he's got that huge play potential. He might win you a week, but he also might lose you a season if you start him consistently. And not what we're looking to do here. So
yeah, one last thing I want to talk about is the Raiders wide receivers. It seems like these guys are getting in shootouts. They're finding a way. David Carr's finding a way to get himself into overtime shootouts every game. So he's putting up massive numbers. And now, I mean, Ruggs is, I would say, doing a little better than we thought he would do.
Yep.
He had a 100-yard game. Yesterday he had like 79 yards or somewhere right around there. And now Hunter Renfrow had a touchdown and 77 yards yesterday. So they have 3 wide receivers who neither of them are kind of, guaranteed guys. But
Edwards also gets,
a
couple big play shots
including
every game,
Edwards.
it seems like. Yeah. I think it's pretty important to notice that David Waller is their one.
Darren Waller.
Darren Waller.
David Waller's their 2.
David Waller is actually somebody I knew in middle school. Good guy.
Then he's their 3. David Waller.
He's the 3. Darren Waller is just he's going to get so many more targets than anybody else. So you're trying to figure out who the number 2 guy is.
Right.
Which is fine because, those are very valuable. It's just that it's very hard to separate them right now.
Right.
Some weeks it might be Renfrow. Some weeks it might be Ruggs. I like Edwards the most, but I'm just not sure he's consistent enough right now.
Yeah. He had some nice. He had some nice catches yesterday.
Yeah, he's going to be a hell of a player. Zay Jones is getting some targets for them. They're pretty stacked offensively, which is not the best thing fantasy wise, unfortunately.
Right. Well, what I mean to say is that they're a good group to keep an eye on because I think if one of those guys does get injured, you'll probably see the numbers for the other 2 or 3 guys go up pretty quickly. Similar to the Broncos.
Very much so. Carr is throwing the crap out of the ball right now. Right. I mean, he's letting his guys make plays, and if you have Waller, you're in a very, very good spot. But definitely keep an eye out on some of those guys. I'm not sure how often Renfrow, it seems like, is available a lot more than the other 2, or Edwards possibly too. I feel like Ruggs is not on too many waiver wires, but if somebody is, definitely a pretty easy pickup.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. Sometimes someone might drop them because they don't have enough room on their bench, and it's definitely a guy to look for.
Yeah. I guess one more name to mention. Yesterday was a good game. More concerned about the A.J. Brown injury. We don't really know what's up with him going forward. Nick Westbrook, hope I'm saying this right, Nick Westbrook-Ekine, led the team in targets, receptions, had a touchdown, also had a fumble. But second-year guy out of Indiana, he's going to play.
Yeah.
If A.J. Brown's gone, I mean, it's Julio on one side and then makeshift, gang of wide receivers, and he's going to be one of those guys. He's available on every single waiver. So take a look.
Yeah, that's a good one. And, I mean, A.J. Brown has a hamstring injury. And the Titans at this point are probably playing the long game. They're planning to go deep into the playoffs, so I would not be surprised if they rest A.J. Brown for a week or 2.
Yeah.
So that's a really good one. All right, well, that's it for right now. Thanks for watching again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, spread the word, tell your friends. And we will be back next week with some more players that we're looking at. Who knows what will happen with these guys, but good luck in your fantasy games. This is George, the Truth Factory Fuchs. I'm Kev Lou. Appreciate it. Good luck next week. Peace.
Set up my squad, wake up and pray. Turn on the tube, don't believe what they say. Get out my way, I got sleepers to play. Shooting my shot and I seen who you waved. You waving the flag, I'm just chasing the bag. All my team special, we taking it back. Doing our dance while you blaming the draft. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts. I'm a machine, just stating the facts.